All right, give it just a second and then we should be ready. Okay, all set.
Okay, welcome everyone to the Secure and Defend section group conversation. I'm David DeSanto, Director of Product for the Secure and Defend section. We also have my engineering counterparts, Wayne Haber and Todd Stahlhofer here, as well as our teams within the section here to answer your questions. And with that, we'll hop into the first question, which Greg has. Okay, I'll just vocalize this question. I'm gonna guess maybe he's not here. So he says, I'm super excited about fuzz testing, but I have difficulty explaining what it is and why it is an exciting GitLab feature to others. What is fuzz testing? What are the benefits to fuzz testing? And Sam, do you want to take that answer?
Yeah, definitely. So I could spend a lot of time giving you a lot of detailed answers, but I put a bunch of the resources that we have for fuzz testing in the doc if you want to check those out asynchronously. Really, what the short version of what is fuzz testing, though, we're generating random inputs to provide to your application or parts of your application that you want to do testing on to try and find edge cases and bugs and potentially security vulnerabilities that other scanners, other QA processes might have missed. By generating random sets of inputs, we're going to find things that a normal tester didn't even think to test for. The example that I really like to use to make this realistic is we worked with one user building a sound processing engine as part of their game engine. And the fuzzer generated a file that was 2 hours long at 1 sample per second. So this is something that a normal QA tester would never really think to do. And it found a whole bunch of different bugs and issues that the user was then able to go through and fix that they would have shipped to production otherwise.
Thank you, Sam. And
so
then
that's the short answer. But again, I'd encourage you to check out all of those links to learn more and reach out if you have other questions.
I'll also, for the recording, so Fern also added a comment. So on the GitLab YouTube channel, he actually made a good video showing the benefits and kind of defining fuzz testing. So if you've not seen it, it's well worth watching. Sam and I both think he did a really great job hitting the goals and explaining the value that GitLab's now providing. With that, Christy, you have the next question.
Yeah, thanks. I've been excited about what we were calling auto remediation. I just think it's a really neat feature. It looks like it's now shifted to suggested solution. So can you just talk about that shift? What's the difference between the two things? What drove the shift?
I can take that one. If you see anywhere where it's called suggested solutions, please let me know. I've been working to remove that. That was a temporary name because Sid was concerned that it was not automatic. And so we had to not refer to it as automatic. So we're now returning to its original name, auto remediation. Users are going to have 2 options. If they don't want our bot or they don't trust our bot at this time, they'll be able to continue to manually apply the suggested solution and continue on the way they are today. Or now that we have the bot, they're going to be able to allow the bot to automatically merge in suggested solutions where they're available with container scanning and dependency scanning. And then the bot will have that pipeline run, and a user will then be able to view whether all your test unit tests and everything ran, and if it's safe to do that update. And the next step's going to be after that, where we are going to make available an option that could even get merged in automatically by the bot if you would like that option. But because that's potentially breaking things, we're going to have to make sure we have some legal disclaimers of please only turn this on if you have really good testing.
Yeah, the thing I'm adding to build off Nicole, and then I'll finish typing after I speak. Like longer term, as Nicole's talking about, like we envision a world where the bot's actually not just pushing it back down to default, but pushing the fix out to production. And the current working name is auto healing, which sounds awesome as a name. Christy's nodding her head up and down, so I think she thinks it's an awesome name. have to give Sid credit because it was his name. He said, "Could we call it this if we do this?" So that's the long-term plan. But as I will stress what Nicole said, we're going to have to talk about legalities on the suggestion on that. I've worked with other products that do something semi-similar, not with code, but with security policies. And people like to make sure, like, hey, if you're enabling this, it may or may not impact it, and you're consciously making this decision to take this risk.
That's really cool. All of that makes sense, and it's really exciting. Thank you.
Okay, and then I think Greg, you said you're here. Do you want to vocalize your next question?
Sure, thanks, David. So on slide 21, I see we mentioned that it's hard to get reliable metrics from self-hosted instances, especially users in offline or air-gapped networks. So I've realized this is a problem myself. I created a proposal to add an air gap checkbox in Salesforce that customer-facing GitLab roles like support and sales can use to indicate when we do have customers in these environments. What are your thoughts on that? Or do you have any other ideas on how support and sales who work with these ultimate customers in air gaps can help communicate the results of your work with secure stage features?
Yeah, it's a great question. Thank you for the call out on the problem that we're trying to address. Yeah, there's a trend that if a customer is using secure, there's a strong chance they're going to be running it in an offline or air gap environment, which means they can't auto report back usage. We've also seen customers who are not in an air gapped or offline environment, they're using security features, also tend to turn off telemetry data because they consider it potentially a security risk to them. I like your proposal, Greg, and I'll share it with the data team because we're working with them on options. The current proposal that everybody seems to like, and it kind of built up what you're talking about, is we were looking at adding like a secure usage dashboard within the secure area. So the user themselves can see what data we're collecting, how we're using it. It also benefits them because they can begin to see things like how many of my users are actually using this feature and how can I encourage them to use it more. And then from that, we're hoping to add an export off of that view, which then Greg, like on a support call, you'd be like, hey, can you export from this page so we can take that data and help analyze it? Same thing with sales if they're talking to the customer. And so it won't be the real-time reporting that we would love to have, but at least it would be good validation of our assumptions when we're doing our extrapolation that you're seeing on slide 21.
Great, that's exciting. I really like the idea of having making it available and useful for the customer themselves to encourage adoption of the secure features and more secure code. And I also really like the idea that we provide an option for these customers where they can provide us with their usage data that we use to prioritize work on features like this in the future. So,
and to kind of build off your comment, like for me, I think once people understand the data, it's a little less scary to them. And I want to be able to remove the question that sometimes comes up where a customer will say, well, are we actually using that feature? Right? So it kind of benefits us and benefits them. I think it'll be a good solution. Okay, Dennis, you have the next question.
Thanks, David. Yeah, so a competitor, I mentioned the name of the competitor in the doc, announced a fuzzing platform that can be baked into CI/CD, and I just found that very interesting. And I just thought if you have any thoughts on that announcement.
I'm gonna let Sam give his thoughts on it, and then I'll add to it as needed. So Sam, do you want to take it away?
Sure. Yeah, so was definitely super interested to see the announcement yesterday. I'm looking forward to actually downloading and trying out that project to see what it actually has inside of it. But I think a couple ways to look at it is this is actually really good validation for us that fuzz testing is solving an important problem in the market and something that users and our customers really care about. If we're ever operating in a space where we have no competitors, that either means we're so far ahead of everyone else that we're just really far out in front, or that we're not solving an important problem. I think this is great validation. And the fact that we've been focusing on acquiring some great fuzzing companies, we've been enhancing our fuzzing offering. This means that we're out in front and that we get validation to know that, we're solving something worth solving. That said, now that we have competition, I'm sure we're going to start seeing them in more bake-offs as part of more engagement with prospects. And so we'll just need to keep pushing and making sure that we're delivering the best fuzz testing solution we can to help those customers solve the problem.
Yeah, and my only adder to what Sam just said, Greg typed in, is a no need to vocalize. That's my take on it.
Yeah.
And it is a pattern that not only have I seen, but Scott and Noop have seen. I'm pretty sure Sid has seen it too, where there seems to be a trend that we're now becoming that leader that, as Greg said, it may want to do what he's putting there in the document. Any other questions on it, Dennis, before we go on to Christy's next question?
No, thanks for your thoughts on that.
And Christy, next question.
Yeah, part of it's just a comment, and then I have a question. So my comment is, I'm so excited to see the Secure and Defend sections focus on having a great user experience. I'm not surprised because I know you've been doing that all along, but it's just really neat to see it in the deck and see examples of it. The vulnerability dashboard just looks better and better all the time. I was looking through some of the individual features that you called out, like identifying the line of code that a vulnerability is on and tying it to industry standards. I mean, that's just really cool stuff. On slide 24, you say that the software composition analysis team has kept our P1 and S1 bugs down near 0 since January, except for 1 month. That seems exciting. So can you explain more about what that means, both from a dog fooding perspective and then also from the perspective of our own platform security?
Sure, yeah, I'll comment on the first part and then I'll let Nicole talk about the second part of your question. So thank you for identifying our focus on UX. I feel like the Secure and Defend team are very passionate about what we're doing and how we can make usability the #1 thing we're addressing. And I agree with you. So for those who don't know, I worked with Christy on her slides for commit back in January. The dashboard looks completely different than it did 9 months ago, and in a good way, not in a bad way, just to be clear. And so I really see that feature becoming one of the key staples in us winning security deals in Ultimate and in Gold, and it is. We've gotten good feedback from customers as well. So to your second part of the question about dog fooding, I've been very happy with the feedback from both the internal security team, who's now using Secure, as well as this quarter we have the Secure and the threat management engineering teams dog fooding Secure as well in their projects. So I expect that we're going to see even better and more rapid improvements to the vulnerability management offering, both not just on the project level dashboard that's in the slides, but Matt has some exciting things going on at the instance level as well. And then that's all, of course, also going to be carried through merge request improvements and pipeline report improvements. On the bugs, Nicole, would you like to comment on that part of the question?
I mean, I think you basically covered it, but I know that we're striving to work in larger customers, and I know that we all get frustrated by using products if they're not reliable or you're constantly seeing bugs. And so I'm really happy that all of my engineers have been helping me to jump on and triage and eliminate every P1S1 that comes in. We're obviously trying to work through our P2S2s, but we're a little bit slower on that one right now, just because there's only so many of us. But we do not let the P1S1 sit around, and I'm hoping customers notice that and our internal teams as they dog food notice that, because we want them to trust our products. And I'm just going to put an asterisk on here that dependency scanning is the one that is furthest along in the maturity level. We know that license scanning and container scanning are minimal. So please do give feedback, but just remember they're also minimal and they're going to stay there while we're concentrating on dependency scanning.
One thing I want to add to Nicole's comment, and this is implied in the slides, but I want to make sure it's clear. We consider the work that the software composition analysis team is doing to reduce bugs, and mind you, it's across all the scan teams as well, as a key point to our objective to be an application security testing leader. So we don't feel like it's just about features, it's also about stability, reliability, not being buggy. So a big call out to Nicole and Olivier on their efforts to do that, and I look forward to the other teams following suit as well. And with that, we've hit the end of the written in questions.
Except for mine, David.
Well,
So, is anyone going to comment on the Easter egg in the video? Did anyone see the Easter egg in the video? It's almost Talk Like a Pirate Day. Yar!
I was going to say that for the end, Wayne, so you could talk like a pirate for a minute or two. But yes, if you made it through the 12.5-minute long video, Wayne, Todd, and I may have put on the pirate hat and eye patch to add a little humor to our days. But with that said, I'd like to give a moment to see if anybody else has any questions they've not had the chance to write into the document. Okay, well, with that said, mateys, we'll give you the rest of the day, or the rest of the time back, and have any other questions after this, feel free to reach out. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.